The bench was cold, the kind of cold that seeped through clothes and settled into bones. And as he lowered himself onto it, he felt something inside him finally give way. It wasn't loud or dramatic, it was quiet, like a thread snapping after being pulled for too long. The world moved around him in a blur of footsteps, passing cars, distant laughter and ringing phones. But he sat there completely still, carrying a weight no one could see. In that moment, surrounded by people yet painfully alone, he realized that the most frightening thing wasn't losing everything he had. It was the growing certainty that no one would ever stop and sit with him. Before the story pulls you deeper, take a moment right now. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the quiet power of compassion, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your small action might be the light someone else is waiting for. His name was Daniel, though the name felt distant now, like something from another life. He had once been a man with routines, responsibilities, and a sense of direction. He woke early, drank his coffee while the city stretched awake, and believed that effort would always lead to reward. That belief had been chipped away slowly, not by one disaster but by many small losses that piled up until they became unbearable. A company downsizing turned into months of job searching. Months of searching turned into silence. Silence turned into bills he couldn't pay, and calls he stopped answering. Friends drifted away, not out of cruelty, but out of discomfort. His struggle reminded them of how fragile their own lives were. Even his reflections seemed to avoid him. Eyes dull, shoulders bent, a man shrinking under invisible pressure. The city didn't notice when Daniel began spending his afternoons on that public bench near the bus stop. It was an ordinary place, easy to ignore. People sat there briefly while checking their phones or waiting for rides, then moved on. Daniel stayed. At first he told himself it was temporary, just somewhere to think. But days passed, then weeks, and the bench became his anchor, the only place where he didn't feel like he was constantly failing at something. From there, he watched life continue as if it had no memory of him. Children walked by holding hands with parents. Office workers complained about traffic. Couples argued softly, then laughed. Everyone had somewhere to go, someone to be with. Daniel had neither. What hurt most wasn't hunger or cold, though those were constant companions. It was invisibility. People looked past him, through him, or at the ground near his feet. Some tightened their grip on their bags, others offered quick glances filled with pity that felt heavier than judgment. He learned to make himself smaller, to take up as little space as possible, as if apologizing for existing. At night, he replayed his life in his head, wondering where he had gone wrong, which decision had set him on this path. The question echoed endlessly, with no answer and no comfort. One afternoon, the sky hung low and gray, pressing down on the city like a warning. Daniel sat on the bench, his coat pulled tight, his thoughts darker than the clouds above. He felt close to the edge of something he couldn't name, a quiet surrender that whispered how easy it would be to simply stop trying. He watched shoes pass in front of him. Polished shoes, worn sneakers, boots splashed with mud. None of them slowed. None of them stopped. Each step felt like confirmation that the world had no room for him anymore. Then something unexpected happened. A shadow fell across the ground in front of him, lingering longer than the others. Daniel didn't look up at first. He had learned not to, but the shadow didn't move away. It stayed, steady and patient, as if waiting. Slowly, he lifted his head. A woman stood there, holding a takeaway coffee cup in one hand, her coat buttoned neatly, her face marked by lines that suggested both hardship and warmth. She didn't rush. She didn't look away. She simply stood, present in a way Daniel had almost forgotten was possible. Without saying a word, she gestured to the empty space beside him on the bench and sat down. The simple act felt enormous. She didn't ask questions. She didn't offer advice or money or rehearsed sympathy. She just sat. The noise of the city continued around them, but something shifted. For the first time in a long while, Daniel didn't feel like a problem to be solved or an inconvenience to be avoided. He felt human again. The minutes passed in silence, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was the kind of silence that heals, that allows breath to slow and thoughts to settle. The woman placed the coffee cup on the bench between them, closer to him than to herself, a quiet offering without expectation. Daniel's hands trembled as he picked it up, warmth seeping into his fingers, then deeper, into places he didn't know were still capable of feeling. He didn't thank her out loud. Words felt too fragile, but something inside him cracked open, and a tear slipped down his cheek before he could stop it. As they sat together, Daniel felt the tight knot in his chest loosen slightly. Memories surfaced, not just of loss but of who he had been before everything fell apart. He remembered helping a stranger fix a flat tire once, staying late at work to help a colleague, holding the door open for someone running late. He had been kind too, once. The realization stung, but it also sparked something fragile and bright. If kindness could disappear from his life, maybe it could also return. The woman eventually stood, leaving without explanation, but before she did, she placed a small folded note on the bench. Daniel didn't open it right away. He watched her walk away, merging into the crowd, just another figure in the city. Yet she had changed everything. When he finally unfolded the note, the words were, simple and handwritten, uneven as if written quickly, "You matter more than you know. Don't sit alone if you don't have to." That night, Daniel slept better than he had in months. The bench was still cold, the city still loud, and his problems were far from solved. But something had shifted inside him. The next day, he sat a little straighter. He met people's eyes instead of avoiding them. He noticed small things again, the warmth of sunlight breaking through clouds, the smell of bread from a nearby bakery, the sound of a bird perched on a traffic light. The world felt less like an enemy and more like a place he still belonged. Over the following weeks, Daniel began to change in quiet ways. He visited a local shelter, not because he was forced to, but because he felt ready. He accepted help he had once been too ashamed to take. He volunteered when he could, helping serve meals, listening to stories that mirrored his own. Each act of connection felt like stitching another piece of himself back together. He often thought of the woman from the bench, wondering if she knew what she had done, if she realized how far her simple compassion had reached. One afternoon, as Daniel helped clean tables at the shelter, he noticed a familiar face at the doorway. It was her. She didn't recognize him at first, but when their eyes met, something softened in her expression. Daniel smiled, a genuine smile that surprised even him. He realized then that he no longer needed to sit alone. Not because his life was perfect, but because he had learned the power of sitting with others, of being present, of offering and accepting compassion. The bench was still there when he passed it on his way out, worn and ordinary. But to Daniel, it had become sacred ground. It was where he learned that the smallest gestures could carry the greatest weight, that sitting beside someone could save them without saying a word. The city felt different now, not kinder necessarily, but full of possibilities for kindness. He understood that compassion didn't require grand gestures or perfect timing. Sometimes, it just required noticing someone and choosing to stay. If this story is touching your heart right now, please pause and engage with this video. Like it, share it, and let us know you're here. Your interaction helps stories like this reach people who might be sitting on their own bench, waiting for someone to care. And before this story ends, we have one special request for you. Please comment below with one word that represents kindness to you. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. Daniel never found the woman again, at least not in the way stories usually promise. But he carried her with him in every small act of compassion he offered, every moment he chose to sit with someone instead of walking past. He learned that life could break you quietly, but it could also heal you quietly through unexpected compassion and simple presence. And somewhere in the city, benches continued to wait, holding space for those brave enough to sit, and for those kind enough to join them.